Okay, I'm standing here on the Hagerstown Turnpike in Maryland at the site of the Battle of Antietam in 1862, September 17th, 1862. And I'm at the first part of the battle in which the Union forces under General Joseph Hooker came down this road, the Hagerstown Turnpike, and they proceeded down this road on both sides of the road and in the cornfield over there, and they proceeded all the way up towards the Confederate positions, which were held by Stonewall Jackson and his men around a church called the Dunker Church. Okay, so the Union attacked early in the morning, and they came down, about 15,000 men, an entire Army Corps, and they came down and they were met with just a tremendous amount of violence from the Confederates that just opened up on them, and the Union troops gave it back to them and in like fashion, so that this field over here and all along over here, they said there were just bodies everywhere. There were just bodies covering the entire field, so that you could not step on any part of the field without touching a dead body. And the officers were riding around on their horses, and they were just stepping gingerly because they were afraid they were going to crush somebody's skull or something like that who was lying wounded in the field. Okay, and so finally the Union thought they had achieved a breakthrough, but General Lee sent in John Bell Hood's Texans and Texans and Mississippians, and they counterattacked across the field, and men came back over this field in stark raving terror, jumping over the fences and running for their lives just to get out of there because they thought they were all going to die. And that's where this battery comes in. This is Battery B, 4th U.S. Artillery, and their role in the battle was to provide infantry support on the attack, and in case there was a retreat, they were supposed to provide for a rallying point for the defense. And they were very good for this because they were old smoothbore guns that fired canister rounds. Okay, canister rounds are like giant shotguns, and so when John Bell Hood's troops were coming up across this field over here, the gunners couldn't, at first anyway, fire directly at them because of the retreating Union soldiers, so they had to fire over their heads. And so once that was cleared, General John Gibbons, who was standing behind here on horseback, looked down, and he looked down at the gun, and he thought that they were firing way too high. They were firing right over the Confederate's head, and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "You've got to raise the firing adjuster. You've got to get down and do it." And it was so loud, it was just roaring all throughout this whole entire valley. Guns were going off everywhere. You couldn't even hear the cannon going off directly in front of you. It was so loud. If you were yelling at somebody right next to you, they wouldn't hear you. So he jumped down and he pushed the men out of the way, and he adjusted the firing, adjusted the leveling screw himself and let it fly, and then this fence just exploded into splinters as they fired directly right into the Confederate attackers, and finally stopped them and drove them back. And that basically ended the first part of the fighting at Antietam here. The Union sent some more troops in, but they were also repelled. And so that's Battery B, 4th U.S. Artillery, which really saved part of the Union Army on this day on September 16th, 1862.